MeinaMix is one of the most downloaded anime style checkpoints on Zivitai, promising results which match expert illustrations with vibrant colours. So let's dive into this checkpoint to see what it can do and whether or not we can create a great character without a Laura. Drop a like to support the channel and consider supporting through the links below, but let me give it to you bite-sized. MeinaMix is a checkpoint developed by Meina, and the example images show us various anime style women using Buru style tagging, which is typical for these types of models. They all seem to be in the same style, so I'll be curious to see how style adjustments impact our results alongside creating an environment piece, as none are demonstrated within the examples. Typically, checkpoints that demand tags can be stubborn about the types of prompts you use and the results you get as a result, so we'll have to be careful about how we structure our prompts and find something that works. I'm using Meina V11, and looking at their summary, here's an overview of the suggested settings. We start with a note that the checkpoint can do good art with little prompting, and there are links to support the creator alongside where the checkpoint is hosted for online generation. The recommendation is to enable quantization in case samplers, and this setting can be found under settings in the Stable Diffusion section. They recommend using high-res fix for when the character is far away to make decent images and to improve the face and eyes. Then we get to the parameters, where you have a number of options to choose from. For the sampler, you can choose between DPM++ STE at 20 to 30 steps, DPM++ 2M Caris at 20 to 60 steps, or EULA A at 40 to 60 steps. Your CFG scale can be 4 to 11, and you have a number of resolutions to choose from for both portraits and landscapes. When using high-res fix, they recommend the Anime 6B upscaler with 10 steps at 0.3 to 0.6 denoising strength, and ensure that you're using Clip Skip 2. Finally, you have two negative prompts, one for if you're using high-res fix and one for if you can't use high-res fix, and the page ends with some information on the merge and suggested resources. To start, I'm going to replicate this example image of a woman with blue hair and horns before testing some of the settings to see what impact they have. Our results are pretty much the same, minus a few adjustments, and this checkpoint does have a baked-in vey, so I'm not sure what obscure setting caused the difference. Now there aren't any embeddings for us to test, so let's test the recommended settings to see how they increase or reduce the quality of our image. Starting with our samplers, I noticed very few quality impacts across our samplers and steps. You get a different variation of your prompt, where some have darker or lighter shades of colour, and there are some adjustments to the background, but overall, the images are high quality across samplers and steps. On our CFG scale, the higher the value, the more our image will conform to our prompt, and a higher CFG scale does produce a better result, but the colours are stronger the higher you go, meaning a value too high can result in unwanted results. I think around 6 to 8 would likely be the best bang for your buck, with 4 looking low quality and 11 starting to produce noticeable artifacts. I've skipped the resolution as there's not much to show other than a better image on a higher resolution, providing your computer can handle it. Then on the high-res fix and denoising strength, there are minimal differences across the images, except I noticed slightly more colour and contrast on the higher denoising strength value. Lastly, on the clip skip, I tested 4 and 2 to 3 give the best results, with 1 and 4 being the most inaccurate. Next, I wanted to generate our own custom portrait to see the kind of results we can get without having to use the break keywords or an extension outside of what the checkpoint recommends to get a feel of what it's capable of doing. I decided to try and replicate Bambi Bastabine from Bleach, and of course, if you truly wanted an accurate representation, then you would have to use a Laura, as there are limits to what you can achieve through prompting alone and the details you can capture. But some of the elements I've tried to capture is the military style outfit, the purple eyes and hair, and of course the skirt and belt, against a nice backdrop of clouds. Now looking at this image across 4 different seeds, I'm really liking the results we're getting, from the style of the art to the lighting and painted effect of the background. But there's not much to say other than we're getting the image we expected, so let's move on to trying out some of the adjustments. Starting with celebrity names, I'm noticing that this checkpoint does recognize celebrities, and the stronger the weight, the greater the impact. But on this image, I didn't use any weighting, and as you can see, the faces do vary to some degree, meaning you can use this to generate unique looks. On the art styles, this didn't seem to work even with a higher weighting, so you would have to use a Laura or another model. I also tried different skin tones, and while it recognizes darker skin tones on a higher weighting, its skin colouring seems to be less varied between lighter tones and then completely busted on non-organic skin tones. I wanted to try and create an ideal image using my workflow to see what the highest quality image was I could create using this checkpoint. I achieved this by adjusting my previous prompt to work with regional prompter, using the matrix option and base prompt to help drive some consistency with our colors. I also used Controlnet to add in a reference image of the character using the reference option on a lower control weight, which is a technique for achieving a character's likeness without using a LoRa. Next, once I found an image I liked, I took it into inpainting to adjust some of the details. The area I wanted to focus on was removing the gold from the outfit, and this was done by masking portions which were gold using inpaint sketch. For this section, I turned off after detailer, regional prompter and Controlnet and set my denoising strength to around 0.75. The prompt was white with a weighting of 1.3, including my quality prompts, and this eliminated those gold areas. I then dragged the inpainted image into my inpaint sketch tab and did the same thing for the shoulder plates before moving the improve image back to inpaint sketch to continue making modifications. The hat was slightly trickier as the shape is more complex, but my workflow for tackling this object was to paint the middle section first and use a lower denoising strength of 0.65 to ensure we kept the overall shape but modified the color. We can continue adjusting our image to our liking before moving our final version into the image to image tab using regional prompter again to repaint our image on a denoising strength of 0.8 so that Stable Diffusion has a lot of freedom to make adjustments. We should also add our improved image to Controlnet on a canny model to control the details, and combined with a low denoising strength, it should remove those artifacts from the masking while keeping our new image. Now if you wanted to add in additional details which couldn't be prompted in, like the signature insignia on the hat, then you will likely have to edit that in through an external image editor. But you can use the Hackle MG extension to improve the saturation, contrast and make other adjustments to finalize your image. To finish, I wanted to generate 3 sets of 3 landscape pieces to see how this checkpoint handles environments on their own, and starting with this landscape, we get a desert in a variety of compositions and tones, which could make for a cool wallpaper or a backdrop for your characters. I also like how they all have a unique style to them, so if you were to add in more prompts, you could probably make something really unique. The next piece is a forest with a hut, chimney and smoke with warm lighting. The next piece didn't turn out exactly how I had in mind, which goes to show how important using a good number of prompts can be. I was aiming for a warm, cozy Studio Ghibli style hut in the forest, but received 2 interiors with a chimney and 1 from an outside perspective with snow. I imagined the checkpoint mistook smoke for snow, but none of the images have any smoke, so this test wasn't entirely a slam dunk. Changing my prompting style a bit, I've opted for a castle in a fishbowl with bubbles and fish. What I got was plenty of bubbles, but no fishbowl, and we have castles, but very few fish. I think these pieces are beautiful, but this doesn't look like the kind of castle in a fishbowl that I was thinking of placing my goldfish. But I think it's interesting that the middle image placed the castle inside of the bubble, which could be used for some interesting compositions. Out of curiosity, I tried removing the prompt bubbles to see whether it was getting confused, and we did indeed get our castle in somewhat of a fishbowl, although it looks more like a bubble, so you may need to be more specific with your prompting. But hopefully you found that video helpful, and if you did, consider liking the video and subscribing for more content. This is Bite Size Genius, and I hope you enjoyed.